and we are back with another episode of Gold Horns and Fight Songs. I'm Mike, that's Wes. You know the drill by now, and finally back into more regular play again. Back into conference play after the holiday break and a few non-conference games.
Conference play is back. It's going well. Western was idle this weekend, um, but some pros made some score sheets across the leagues. Maybe none bigger than Ethan Frank finally getting called up to the Washington Capitals lineup. Showing up big in his debut. Made a great play to bust up an icing, retrieve the puck, make a pass, and Ellard buried it to help the Capitals in the game and get Ethan his first point, and then followed it up with a goal Saturday night in his second game at Nashville. So just checking the first off.
I mean, it's about time that they finally called him up. It, that's been too long.
I think most Western fans would agree. Um, that seems
Oh,
to be the consensus on quite a few places from what I've seen across the internet. But yeah, no, I mean, you've got Ovi, and that's a pretty stacked lineup at wing, to be completely honest. So it's understandable that it did take so long, but you know, it's still good to see him get out there and to hit the score sheet and to be able to play, and then just from his perspective, be able to play with someone that he looked up to as a younger dude, learning the game, and being on the same bench with Ovi has to be absolutely insane for Ethan.
yeah, I mean, if a guy's a three-time AHL All-Star within his first three full seasons, probably is a sign, but I was talking with my mom about this uh when I had seen that. It's crazy when you actually know somebody and then think about who they're playing with. And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's just another teammate," but you're on the same bench and in the same locker room as the guy that might break the all-time goals record this year.
Yeah, right. I mean
This
that.
dude's a legend.
Yeah, and even Brad Schlossman kind of posted during the World Juniors tournament, like when the World Juniors were in North Dakota and Ovi was out there and Crosby I think was out there, and like getting the opportunity to see those dudes as young dudes before they were really established in the league, and now getting to see them at the end of their career, like just the path it's taken. And honestly, like to
Mhm.
me, even though Ovi's not a US born player, he didn't play college, but like that's the fun thing about being a fan of college sports, is like you're seeing dudes before they've really made a name for themselves, or like as they're currently making a name for themselves, and developing as players and trusting the process and trying to get to that next level. Like take Ethan for example. Like he told us like he wasn't super highly recruited coming out of juniors. He ends up going to Western. Takes advantage of the extra COVID year, ends up leading the country in goals that season. Signs as a undrafted free agent with Hershey. Ends up playing well enough in Hershey to earn a two-way deal. He's a two-time AHL Calder Cup champion. He's the fastest skater in the world,
Yeah.
and he gets called up to the NHL and making plays and making. In fact, his Saturday goal was the game-winning goal of that game. So he knocked off his first game-winning goal too. Like the fun it is, even Sam Colangelo last year, like seeing him and then seeing him make his debut last year with Anaheim. We're going way back in seeing Danny DeKaiser play 3 years of college hockey before having a 10-year NHL career. Like it's super cool to see these dudes break into the league and know that like, yeah, I saw that dude play college hockey and like watched him play, or even just when guys come into town, like like Gensel when he was playing with Omaha. Like it's still like, oh, that dude played in our conference, and I remember watching him touch ice in Lawson. Like it's a cool thing to see. A guy who lifted the Stanley Cup was playing less
Yeah,
than
and
10 miles from my house.
that's even, I've been lucky enough to see guys in high school and play sports with them. Adam Johnson, Scotty Perunovich, um, watching Matt Niskanen, who that lucky son bitch, he played with both Crosby and Ovechkin. Like he fought Crosby, but Crosby kind of jumped him. But either way, you got to play with arguably two of the top five players of all time, depending on who you are and you're on the team with them. And it's fun. It's like, oh yeah, I remember them back in high school or peewees or bantams or whatever. I know them as this person, and you follow their journey. You, there is a little jealousy because they're making a lot more money getting to play a game, but at the same time, it's really cool where you're like, oh yeah, I got to watch them before their name was big.
Right.
Um, Niski, his name is on the Stanley Cup. Perunovic, if he can ever stay healthy, his will be. It, like you were saying, it is fun to watch these guys as they grow and continue their journey. And we've been lucky enough now with these Western guys to get to talk with them and get to know them.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to Ethan a couple years ago, right after he finished his first stint with Hershey. That the end of that season, I think it was that summer we talked to him.
Yeah, because he had the Avs game on in the background.
Yeah, the Stanley Cup game. Or see finals game, whatever the playoff game.
Yeah, playoffs, whatever it was.
We had Sam on last year before he strapped up with Western. Um, two guys that have gone on to play in the NHL and the AHL. We've had a bunch of dudes who've played in the AHL come on. Luke Granger made the AHL last year. Trying to think of who else. Trevor's, been the ECHL guy. I think he's had a couple call ups
Yeah,
potentially with the AHL at least as a backup.
yeah, he's had a couple short little stints up in the A.
Yeah. So I mean, it's yeah. Then just getting to hear like their path through whatever school they went to. I mean, I'm sure that I feel confident in saying that Rowe is going to be another guy who sees some pro playing time, depending on what league it's in. But at the end of this year, I think he's going to find a spot amongst the pro team. Um, there's definitely some guys on this roster now that could develop in their time here at Western, and Western's doing a great job of putting players into the pro ranks, as well as the conference. I mean, the conference in general is just feeding the pro ranks right now, and it's awesome to see and just know that like if you're coming to play in the NCHC one, it's going to be super exciting for anybody who follows any of the 9 soon to be 10 schools, and 2, like it's setting you up to play pro hockey.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the big thing. And we I think we talked about it last week. Can't remember exactly when I was listening to Beyond the Pond, that one. But they were talking how the CCHA is so tough. I'm like, how many kids from the CCHA actually are going pro right now? There's, yeah, it's a different style, but I don't think it's as tough because how many kids from Denver, North Dakota, Colorado College, UMD, since the NCHC has been a league, how many kids have gone pro?
They show it. What is it? They show it every. I think they show it before every game. No, there's a commercial they do. I think with that's for the NCHC that Alex um, voices over, and it talks about how many national championships they have, how many um, teams are in the conference. I think it mentions like how many NHL dudes, and it's like over 100 guys on NHL rosters or something like that. I think is the stat that it gives. Um, but yeah, I mean, they take pride in promoting it and showing it and saying like, hey, this is where you want to come play if you want to win national championships, make the pros. I think they even mentioned like how many dudes have lifted the Stanley Cup like from the conference. Like,
Mhm. And I mean, the if you think about it nationally, and this might be kind of that Midwest West bias, but if you're not going out east to play at BC or BU, where do you really want to play other than those two schools? Like those are the only two really well-known schools out east. But then you come to the NCHC and it's like, oh yeah, North Dakota, oh yeah, Denver, oh yeah, UMD, St. Cloud, Herb Brooks coach. There's so many more schools that you can promote. But if I'm gonna go play at Sacred Heart, well, whoop-de frickin' do. I'm playing D1 hockey, sweet, but is that really gonna get me anywhere? I'm gonna go play at AIC. I'm gonna play at Harvard. At least I'm gonna get a good education, but I'm not really gonna get as noticed as I am from these other schools.
No, it's not AIC. I was gonna say, isn't AIC the one who's losing their D1 program? But I don't think it is.
That might be, well, Robert Morris has
It's
been
Robert.
kind of
I think it's Robert
back and
Morris
forth.
because they.
Robert Morris, they've lost theirs about two times, I think, now,
I
and
think it
they've
is
gotten it
Robert
back.
Morris because we have a player. There's a player at Western who I think what I'm confusing is I think he transferred directly from AIC last year, and he's a two time transfer, having transferred from Robert Morris the first time they lost their program, and there were thoughts that he was going to transfer back, but he was like, "No, I'm good with where I'm at." And then I believe it is Robert Morris that's supposed to be losing um, their D1 status again, and the coaches are trying to find or trying to promote a transfer portal showcase. Basically, is what I've been seeing on Twitter. Uh, because he wants to get his players like back onto D1 programs because like there's like a potential that they won't even be able to play like the team that's playing D1 right now, they won't even be allowed to play D3 if they go back to D3. Because of some weird rule that's going to inhibit the players from doing so. So he's trying to find them spots at other D1 programs and is trying to put together a transfer portal showcase basically to get all the guys in one spot. Coaches can come down and like basically like in a combine type thing. You know, maybe some simulated games or something, or some like scrimmages, or maybe it's even just straight games, like all-star games, basically almost, and just an opportunity for these guys to get more eyes on them to find homes next year. Which it sounds like it could be a solid idea. Um, just college hockey is going to be in a weird spot next year with potentially more people in portals or in the portal because of the limit of the roster size going back down. I think it's only going to be at like 25 or something.
Yeah, and like I said, the
And
CHL coming in.
yeah, and
But
the talent pool is going to be significantly larger with CHL players being eligible for NCAA teams. Like it's so weird that we're limiting roster size, but we're expanding the portal or expanding the talent pool, and a lot of guys still might miss out on opportunities.
and even schools like Robert Morris, they're losing their program. So you're shrinking the amount of places that these kids can land instead of expanding it. I think the whole point is everybody wants it to expand, but it, I don't know what circumstances are. I know when Huntsville they lost their program, they kind of were doing the same thing. They lost it, they brought it back, then they lost it again because they didn't have the funds. That one makes a little more sense than a Robert Morris. Um, they did bring up though, I don't remember what I was listening to, but how good Division 3 hockey is going to get now
Yeah,
because the talent pool is going to be a lot larger. It's more competitive for Division 1. Now, schools like my alma mater, it's not going to be a bunch of monkeys trying to hump a football. It's going to actually be hockey, and it's going to be fun to watch them play, other than when they play in Adrian or St. Norbert or one of those top tier D3 schools that actually know what hockey is. Uh, it'll be interesting.
yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting in a lot of ways. Like, what's going to happen? Like, will this push some D1 community or D3 areas? Like potentially SEC type thing, or will it push like teams that have joined the Big Ten for sports? Like, will it push them to try and get their pro if they're competing well at D3 because the talent pool is so large? Will it potentially like be like, all right, hockey is clearly viable here. How do we get it to the next level and compete for a D1 national championship in this. Like,
Well, and for as far as the Big Ten goes, Washington and Oregon, they can be if I'm assuming they have club teams, and you have the Kraken and the Canucks right there. The Kraken, they could be like, hey, we'll take Washington since we're actually in the state, and Vancouver, you can help kind of promote the Ducks. You already have a league that's built in. You have arenas, I'm assuming that you can use for games. Let's get this a Division 1 program and let's jump in and move that. Who knows if they'll do it or not, but I don't foresee like a USC or a UCLA joining. I just don't think it's quite viable. But Oregon and Washington, the Ducks and the Huskies, it definitely is viable. Um,
I don't want to say that it's not viable in Southern California. There's a lot of players that are coming out of that area. And you have the Kings, the Ducks. The Sharks are kind of more NorCal, but Vegas to an extent is all right there. The Coyotes were, uh, but they go up north to Utah. I mean, there's still like hockey is still big in that area. But it's more building the college hockey scene and then finding and I mean honestly like UCLA or USC probably has a huge number of donors that they could pull together because it always seems like money's the biggest thing. Like how do we
yeah.
get the donors to get behind it and build this into something? And that's what we saw with like St. Thomas. It was some big money came in.
Oh yeah.
Arizona State big money came in. Um, I guess then a big money showed up. So like, you have to build that both with the excitement of hockey in general and then building a program that essentially competes itself out of D3, which we saw with St. Thomas, which we kind of saw with Arizona State. I think there was another school that was just kind of rank like racking up wins and being uncompetitive in the positive sense of being D3 and had to make the jump to D1.
Well,
um,
I think the difference it is for St. Thomas, it wasn't necessarily their hockey team. It was football was the number one, and then all the other sports, they were pretty top tier. Not that it matters. Tennis, they were up there, but they weren't. Maybe they were like between 3 and 5. Gustavus and Carlton, they were 1, 2 in the MIAC. But football, St. Thomas, St. John's, top two schools. Basketball, St. Thomas is up there. That's a little bit different because they were forced out of their conference versus an Arizona State that was a club team and they needed the money to go in. But for me saying viable, it kind of ties into the money for a UCLA and a USC. It's the support and getting that money. You can put the team there, great, but LA is not, it's not a sports city. It it unless it's the Lakers, it is, but only if the team is really, really good do people show up. You look at how many people go to Rams games or now Chargers games and what the ratio of the crowd is visiting fans versus home fans. Unless the Kings or the Ducks are in the Stanley Cup playoffs, not many people are showing up. Clippers games, nobody shows up. Lakers are the only ones, and even when they're bad, they don't show up. They're fair weather fans. So how is it viable to sell these tickets to a college hockey game when nobody cares about sports in LA in general? The Dodgers are the only team that really consistently draws.
yeah, but I mean, I think you just said it. Like that becomes a destination town. Like how many teams are like how many fans when Arizona State got added to the NCHC are like, oh, dude, I need to go to a game there because it's gonna be like I just want to escape the cold of a Michigan winter or a Minnesota winter for like a weekend. Like I'm gonna go find a way or a chance to get to the mullet. Like even if that's the case, I mean, that money still comes in, and you still like, all right, cool. We're actually we might even do more for the community at that point because we're selling hotel rooms. There's more people hitting restaurants than are just the average everyday people who, make food at home or drink at home before they go to the game or they do all these other things. Whereas if it's tourism based too, like you're adding an extra element, you're getting people. Of course, they'll find a way to screw it up by having like, I don't know, midweek fucking rivalry games that destroy the available or the profitability of a game day for a small school that relies on every single one of its home games to help its football program or whatever. But nope, not taking any shots at any conference in particular or some TV network who throws big money at small conferences and thinks everything's going to be okay. Don't know who I would be talking about. I'm pretty sure their initials could spell words. There's in fact a very famous sign of spelling one word with every letter of said network. Um, that's floated around the internet for years. But, not bitter or anything. Just putting it
I
out there.
I just think
Let's celebrate empty stadiums in the middle of November. Yeah, cool. On a Tuesday. Way to
I
build the
think
sport, guys.
there's a difference though in going to Arizona versus going to LA.
Well, now there is for
There's
sure. Air quality is slightly better in Arizona.
well, yeah, there's that. But if you're going to Arizona,
I mean, the air
you're
quality is
probably
always
going
better
there
in
for the
Arizona, but
game and just being around the Phoenix area, way easier to get around. I was in LA this summer. If I never go back to LA, it'll be too soon. I absolutely hate that city. And I would not just go there for a game. If I'm going to go there, I'm going to go there for a different reason. I'm not going to travel out there just to go watch a sports game, whatever sport it is.
well, no,
There's
you
just no
build
reason.
around it. I mean, you do other shit for sure.
I mean, well, I will say I do want to go to the Olympics when it's there again, but that's completely different. Olympics don't happen every year.
No, you're not wrong. I'm just with the ongoing calamity that is currently befallen LA, plans may change. Things are going to have to be rebuilt. And to move the football game to Arizona because of certain situations, we hope that everyone's safe. And it is sad that there has been a loss of life of any kind out there already. Um, but hopefully they get the fires under control there and get them put out here soon because it's going on what, like 2 weeks of raging fires out there, at least a week.
Yeah,
And it's
probably at least a week, maybe a week and a half.
and usually like it seems like, well, I don't know. I think no, this does seem about the time that it happens. I think a couple
Yeah,
years ago when I had to fly out for my grandmother's funeral, they had the fires up in NorCal,
yeah.
like the three different ones. Then and we could see the smoke from while we were flying over from. Or wait, no, was that October?
It'll happen in late fall, and I know
Yeah,
this isn't the first time that they've had to move a football game because of that. And I know I've
maybe
talked with clients
maybe it was October that it
and
happened the last time. But I was saying it feels weird that it's happening, in the winter time.
oh, and
But
I mean I have family members that live depending on traffic, but about 45 minutes to an hour south of LA. And um, one of my cousins, they live in the same neighborhood as Temu Solani, and they had to evacuate just a few months ago because there was a fire that was close there.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, they'll yeah they can do the Olympics and in the fires. It'll be fine.
I mean
Adds an element.
they're usually not all in the city anyway. There'll be stuff probably all the way out in like Ontario or possibly down in San Diego for just because LA is the host city doesn't mean every event's going to take place in LA. Um, yeah, I mean, let's go through the results of the weekend. Your team finally put it together. Rivalry series with the team south of you. Well, north of your current location, south of the university that you are closest Leaf fan of.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, they finally figured it out. I was a little skeptical, but I also don't think St. Cloud, they're the same team that they've been the last couple years. They previously they were just a team that had a lot of talent. That talent has moved on. Still a good team, typically better than us with how we've been, but Knapp getting the shutout with Guyon being injured on Friday, and then also getting the win on Saturday. Good for him. Maybe the goalie change was needed, and they just weren't giving Knapp that opportunity. That could be what changes around the season. I think I saw something that one of the national championship runs, there was a sweep right around this time, and they just went on a roll, ended up winning the Natty. So who knows? I'm not betting any money on that, but it'd be pretty nice if that happened.
yeah, no, I mean, big series like we were kind of saying, like you throw the records out the window and it's that series, and again, it proved it. Duluth had been struggling. They put it together. If they to build on the series, hopefully, and roll into next weekend and do something else with it. Not too much, just a little bit. They do have well, in 2 weeks maybe. Oh no, you have Colorado College at Colorado College this week,
Yep.
and Colorado College is coming off of being swept by Omaha. Um, Colorado College seemed to have hit a bump here lately. Not the best puck out of them, at least in the conference wise. They are now on a 4-game skid after losing 2 to Augustana to open the second half of the season, and now back-to-back games to Omaha. So 4 down to them in the new year. Not the way they wanted to start the 2025 portion of the season, for sure. Um,
I think losing to Augustana, they're one of those teams that being new, you don't necessarily expect much, but they've come on pretty quickly. I think they've gotten better quicker than St. Thomas, and St. Thomas got pretty good pretty quickly. So, not necessarily a shame. And then Omaha, they beat the Gophers, who's been consistently in the top five this year. They've beaten good teams. They are a good team.
yeah, they were just dealing with injuries early in the season that
Yeah,
bit them in the butt. I mean, they've been playing pretty well here lately. Um, they have Miami this weekend, so maybe just slow down a little bit. We don't need you creeping up into the number one picture, but by all means, play your games for sure. It's nice when everybody's good, I guess. Um,
except for Miami
Denver did Denver things.
because they played Miami.
They outscored them 10-3 on the weekend. I don't think anyone really is surprised by that. Um, so
I'm just surprised Miami got three.
3 on the
That's
weekend. Denver is the idle team this next week, so hopefully the teams. Well, maybe not both teams. I don't know about all teams ahead of them, but there's a couple teams that I would like to see maybe put some space between themselves and Denver in the rankings. As there is now a 3-way tie in first between Arizona State, North Dakota, and Western. Western
because you
having
called it.
2 games in hand. I did call it. I said we need. Really, it could have been 2 overtime wins for Arizona. It would have been just as good. But, we'll give them the full win. They're the home team. Why not? Arizona State now has conference wins over Denver and North Dakota, which I think may have surprised some folks out there in the world. They are playing extremely well in the conference and have earned a share of that number one spot. They had travel up to St. Cloud to take on the Huskies, looking to rebound after their losses to Duluth. And the other 2 first place teams are actually going to be playing each other as Western makes the trek over to Grand Forks. And, hopefully Western could put together, steal a win here, steal a game, At least keep pace with North Dakota for right now, just because Western does have 2 games in their pocket, being the first team to have experienced the bye week in the second half of the season. I believe Arizona State might be the last one to be completely idle at the end of the season when that final weekend hits. So it'll be interesting to see where those teams shake out by the time that gets here.
Yeah, because I think they're still at least doing the rivalry
The
at
travel
the end
buddy
of the
weekend.
year.
Yeah. The travel buddy weekend. Um, yeah, Arizona State is idle that last weekend. Their last conference games will be against Omaha. Oh, no, you're right there. Who is missing? Oh, Colorado College is idle the 28th of February, 1st of March. Omaha is idle the 21st and 22nd of February. Nope, Denver's right there. You're right there. St. Cloud State is Valentine's weekend off. I mean, just check the schedule. I'm not going through all these.
Yeah,
What am I doing here?
I
But
I, I don't know. I was just kind of letting you do your thing. I wasn't going to criticize. I
mm,
just
mm,
was going to let you
mm,
figure it out on your own.
mm.
You're an adult. You can do this.
But those are the matchups this weekend. I think it's gonna be a kind of short episode. Like I said, I didn't watch. I really only watched the Arizona North Dakota game because one, it was on CBS Sports Network, and two, I was out of town. Um, so that was the only one that I was really following. And I'll tell you what, dude, Arizona State, man, if you let them behind your defense, they are finding opportunities to beat some of the best goalies in the conference, in the country, as a
I I,
result.
I think we both kind of expected it that they weren't a team to take lightly coming into the conference. We had seen what they had done the previous couple of years, being right there, being competitive, especially against NCHC teams.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
really,
it,
it's
it- they did lose some talent, but they've kept it up, and they're right in there. They're where we expected them to be, if not a little ahead, I think.
well, I was gonna say, like, I think they're right where at least you and I predicted them to be, but some, and maybe slightly ahead of that, but they're slightly ahead of that due to the early struggles of Omaha, the recent struggles of Colorado College, being able to knock off Denver early in the season has really put them behind the 8 ball. Um, those things have kind of really gotten them. Without that, they're sitting, fourth, fifth, which is kind of right where we have them.
Mhm.
If those teams had played up to their potential. So just making the most out of opportunities as they're given, and taking advantage of potentially teams looking down on them. But I think, as we get deeper in the season, that's going to kind of go away. Teams are going to prepare a little bit better, play a little bit better. Um, Maybe not be as distracted by the nice weather because you still got to go out and compete and play hockey. And it's a wake up call when teams like Denver and North Dakota, fall to them. I think there is a return series still to come with Denver. They swept Denver in Denver, and they have to play Denver at Mullet. So we'll see if what happens there. I believe they have
Yeah,
another
because
series with Colorado College as well because that's the travel pod. Yeah, Colorado College is actually next week after St. Cloud State this week, and then they make wow, they are back and forth, man. I guess that's what happens when you're the farthest west team, right?
yeah, they don't really have a choice.
They go. What do they do here? They were home this last week. They go to St. Cloud, back home to Miami, back home for Denver. That's February 7th and 8th is the Denver series. Uh, Back to Minnesota to face Duluth. Back home for Western Michigan. Back out to Omaha to finish off the season. So they are bouncing back and forth for
They're
the
just sitting
rest
there.
of the
Can we
season.
please stay 2 weekends at home for the love of God?
Yeah. So they are going to be one well traveled team by the time the conference tournament gets here. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that schedule holds up for those guys because I think they're a team that in years past may have had a few more home games at the end of the year than usual, with them being an independent and kind of searching for other independents and outside of hockey being a pretty big school to draw in um, visitors to. So
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll because this is the last year in St. Paul, right, for the Frozen face-off. I think. I already forgot.
what?
I think this is the last year in St.
Yeah.
Paul for the Frozen face-off. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
So maybe in the last year of the Frozen face-off here, Arizona State will make the trip to St. Paul. And they can play in an actual NHL arena
Yeah.
that has more than 3,000 seats.
I think they have 5,000 seats
Maybe it's five. I don't know.
because I think Miami was technically the smallest in the NCHC or Western. Or is Western the oldest? I know it's between like Western and Miami for the smallest seated arena.
4,600
Is
mullet.
okay.
Well, that was for NHL. It's 5,000 for college.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know it's like really close. Because I think like they want everybody to be close to 5. I think is what the conference was pushing for when they were getting people, or like looking at potential suitors for joining the conference, and that's kind of the push to
Yeah.
get Western out of Lawson. Um, 5. What is your Come on, come on. Capacity. Yeah. Oh, yep. Miami is technically the smallest at 3,642 seats, and I think Western Michigan's Lawson Ice Arena is 3,666, 67 seats.
How did I not realize Arizona State made the 2019 tournament?
3,667 seats for Lawson Ice Arena. So yeah, those are the two smallest, Miami and Western. And Western will be bigger by the end of the decade.
I just completely forgot Arizona State made the tournament back in 2019.
Yeah, and they qualify. Well, it's hard to say. I think they were in a spot to qualify for the 2020 year as well, but that tournament is the one that got canceled due to the old virus that went
Yeah,
through the world.
and they were actually in our bracket too,
No, I
but they
mean,
lost.
Coach
And
Powers has
yeah,
done a really good job with that program, building it from a club team to a Division 1 independent team to now being a member of one of, if not the top conference in college hockey. In our opinion, it's the top conference in college hockey. It's hard to argue against it with what it's done, but arguments can be made, I suppose.
yeah, he's just not very good at jumping on podcasts. At least this one.
Just ours. That's fine. That's cool. That whole time zone difference. Maybe he was busy with other things. Um, I won't. You know, I'll hold it against him. I'm just a petty person.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it
boo him aggressively when he walks past my. Oh, dude! If I still have season tickets and they come there, I will be right there. I will see him and I will boo him loudly and aggressively.
it's one thing if
And,
you miss it once
and
and you
I
give us
will.
a valid reason, but to
I
just
will.
ghost somebody that boo that man,
I will. In fact,
boo
let.
that
I
man.
will. In fact, let him know that he gives Bald a bad name. It does not look good on him. He's ruining it for the
Just
rest of us.
bring a boombox. and play the Bon Jovi song with the sigh.
but aggressively change it to bald instead of love
Yep.
every time. Um, but no, I mean, like I said, he's doing a great job. I respect what he's doing. It would have been cool to get a chance to talk to him before the season started and the conference. Maybe we'll try again at some point to reach out to him. Probably not. I don't know. I kind of hold grudges. So, uh, yeah, that's the thing that happened. But yep. I think we're gonna wrap it up there because now I'm starting to get frustrated with it again, and I don't want to do that. And there's some YouTube stuff that you can do. There's a like, there's a share, there's a subscribe button. If you want to push them, you can. If you don't want to, cool, good stuff. There's some things on what was formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, that you can participate on. If not, whatever. You're adults, make decisions, or you're slightly underaged of adults, but are still capable of making decisions, and somehow found this.
Just
Shut up.
stop.
You
Just
shut up.
don't even.
You shut up. I'm sick of your face. Yep. Nope. That got weird, and I hate you for doing that.
I didn't do anything. You
Nope.
made it weird.
Nope, you did with your face and your words. Last thing to say is go pucks hot net. Good things happen like go horns and fight songs. Till the next episode, we're out here.